Welcome to the Affiliate BI podcast. Today we're chatting with Andrew Ansley, who is the founder of ContentSprout. And it's pretty obvious that today we're going to talk about AI content. I don't have any scripts or questions written down other than I've been looking at the ContentSprout tool from the outside, not yet tested it, but let's just jump into it. Tell us about the app itself.
Sure. Good to be here, John. The AI content writer for ContentSprout, it does a couple different things. The tool is designed to, if you're familiar with entity SEO and semantic SEO, that's the idea. So it started after reading Bill Slawski for, I think I've now read 2 years solid of his stuff and then a little sprinkling here and there. Corey, he's big into that, and he's probably done the most to really spread that, and he's helped a lot with kind of solidifying understanding. Because Bill, it's one thing what Bill said, but it was another when after watching something like 150 hours of Corey and then diving into more and more patents, I then had all the material I needed to create a perfect content engine. Not perfect, I should say. It's the best or one of the best on the market. So my goal was to just 90% of the work, remove it. And none of the remove as much hallucination, remove all of the fluff, try to get rid of all those words like delve and critical and everything else that AI writers do that we all hate.
It sounds like a lot of people don't really do any of that dirty work of going, let's look into the actual patents of how Google structures its search engine. I don't know if there's anything you could enlighten us that's going to be entertaining or insightful of these patents.
Sure. It's been a while, so I can't quote the exact patents anymore, but I can say that I think it's candidate answer passages or passage ranking, something like that, where I'll take a step back before I actually quote one, but I'll just say that the theory is this that Google has after 2018, Google really started its big shift, the major shift. If you remember, Rank Brain happened, and that was to solve 15% of the queries that existed on the internet. It was for more of the unknown stuff, and it was holding a database. So it originally, Google tried to create the free base back in 2014, gave up on it because it said, all right, Wikipedia, Wikidata, you guys are doing better. We like how you've done it. So instead, they've there's no specific contract I can find, but there's some sort of partnership, some sort of integration. That's the most pristine version. So there's a bunch of databases. There's DBpedia as well. And there is still freebase IDs. You can inspect any search on Google. And then if you inspect the code and then find, I think it's /m/ or it's /g/ one of those, that's how you actually find the entity code. Anyway, so when Google made that change, it was its first change where Google was really saying content is now truly going to be king. We really want to start relying on that and less on backlinks. We've been relying on this for 20 years. PageRank was built entirely off. So now let's do something else. And really, I started to see the impact around 2021. And I didn't fully implement it until probably 2022. But the idea is make it cheaper for Google to crawl and cover a broad length of topics or be wide and deep. There's three things you can really do to affect uh, this new way of doing SEO. You can go deeper than other people, you can go faster than other people, or you can go wider than other people. Obviously, you can combine all three or a mixture of the two. So when you can do things that make it cheaper, everything gets better. So one of the things that makes it cheaper is we're talking like really small micro optimizations. Turn your headings into questions, just like as much as possible. So there are little tiny things that Google is doing where it has a query and it wants to take your content. We'll call them zones, I believe, and it's trying to answer those. So it has a whole entire, like in the patent documentation, it draws out, hey, here's how we take your content and convert it into questions. So my thought is let's just make the content in a structure where there's the least amount of conversion processes, where let's lessen the complexity. And that's what we're doing. So that's one of them. I don't know about the only other one I'll say, because I don't want to ramble on. I'll let you keep talking, but I think it's the most important is heading vector optimization. If you want to use I think a lot of this stuff, for instance, if you follow Corey, he talks a lot of using these fancy terms. I do think they're great. And now that I've done the hard work of trying to master it, it's easier for me to speak that way. But for others, you really don't need to speak that way. I believe Indiana University has what is it? It's a grammar guideline, and I can't remember the name of it. My buddy Simon Cornelius found it, but it's topic sentences. So heading vectors are basically topic sentences. There's a little bit of a nuance. For instance, a heading vector is looking at it more from like the space between your header and then the text and what that text is saying. So if you were to put an image right below the heading, for instance, that if you're thinking of heading vectors, that's bad because you've just shoved code that increases the space in between that text, which is supposed to relate to that heading. So a topic sentence is the next part where it just says state exactly what the header is supposed to be laying out. So what is a bicycle? A bicycle is a two, blah, 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 blah. Like that's how you should be approaching it.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot I can go into different tangents. So you
Yeah.
mentioned about content without links. And I think there's a lot of people in the SEO space that they're like, that's impossible. But personally, I know that's very true because
Yeah.
I've met some very successful affiliates that have been making six figures, seven figures a month, and they just hate the concept of link building. So I just wonder if you can dive into that of what is the power of creating good content that maybe you don't even need links.
I would say, first off, just so people don't crucify me over here, links make it so much easier. And links are part of that. If we think of this as like baking a cake, it's just so much easier if you have links. It's a huge signal. And I honestly think links will get more important in the future as Google tries to recover from whatever the heck it's doing right now as it's hemorrhaging market share. But that said, you don't absolutely need links. What Corey coined that term called topical authority. And it's not real authority in the sense of website authority and page rank, but it is a type of authority. It's like a faux authority. And I think that's what a lot of people can probably really win using that strategy. And that's when I mentioned the three things that you can do: wider, deeper, faster. And I guess there's even another one. It's consistency, typically. So, are you consistent and are you doing those things? And is that content well structured? It has to be high quality content. The moment you do low quality content, especially if it's in like within like that cluster forward slash bicycles, you're trying to talk about bicycles, and then you release 10 blogs. You've done all this work, 30 blogs that are they're manually written, they're great. And then you just start publishing 30 that are AI written that you've done nothing with images, you've done nothing at all. They just willy nilly publishing it. You can really mess things up. So I'd say think like a website publisher. Imagine you're a multi-million dollar conglomerate, and how would you systematically approach your content strategy? Now use the scalability of AI. And the other thing you have to think about too, if you're going to make it work, is think like how a Google research scientist would think. We know that Google can't just, even though it has the technology to detect anything that we try to do, that's expensive. So, what are some easy things to avoid that they could probably put in to snare us to detect us? So, one of the algorithms, for instance, when I was trying to read how sites get penalized, it's there's triggers that happen. They didn't talk about the specific triggers, but you get put into a bucket of other sites that also hit the trigger, and then it's much easier to analyze those sites later. If you can avoid all those things, just write really good content, and that works. And usually, if you have a little bit of authority, internal linking does a good bit of work for you. Your social presence, if you have a brand search, that's actually super important. And you don't need backlinks to have brand search. I just talked to a guy named Chase Reiner for probably 2.5 hours in Phoenix, probably 5 days ago or something. And he's generating on 20 different channels, hundreds of thousands of views on each channel. And if you get that kind of traffic, you don't need backlinks. Honestly, I'm sure you already know this, but the most valuable thing I look for in a backlink is traffic. And if I have an internal link where I have a page getting tons of traffic and then I point that page, that's just like cooking with, that's straight jet fuel. So really, if you can be a master of traffic, I think you could probably get away with almost no backlinks at all. Otherwise, you have to go the Corey method and just be so precise. You're like a surgeon. And or you find a good hole in the market and you can just go target low hanging fruit or things that no one's found yet, that kind of stuff.
You mentioned how, like, just even with internal links, you got a page that's got a lot of traffic and it doesn't take much to redirect it to another part of your site that's relevant.
Yep.
And it seems like the most basic concept in the world, but that's probably maybe the lowest hanging fruit that any website could actually do. Is this laziness or is this just a lack of education?
I want to speak for it. I don't know. In my experience, when I talk about this, it's a lack of education because I talk to clients and I am the founder of ContentSprout, but I also am the director of marketing for Helium SEO. And we have clients that are fairly large and they don't know this thing. So there's actually a metric that Stephen Kang created called I think it's the Power Page Index. It's gonna be boring to state the formula, but the essential idea is you look at all the keywords, you create like a CTR or like math problem where you're looking at the likely traffic or based on the position and all these keywords and blah blah blah. And then you get like this aggregate score. And obviously the more traffic you get, so if I was ranked 1 for a keyword that has 1,000, then let's say that gives me 1,000 points, but I have 1,000 other keywords all in varying positions. That all adds up. Even in 90, this is why I like his formulas because even 90 has an importance. So I think all that kind of stuff adds up. And then that's when you can like push, we'll call it this, this other, I don't know what the metric would be, but some sort of like traffic or power page juice and make it work.
I want to take a step back because we you touched upon topical authority, and I want to apply this to I guess, a case study, and it's more about my situation as like a SaaS company. We have different affiliate program categories like iGaming, SEO, SaaS, and what I've done is I've looked at what are the current sites ranking for those keywords, like SaaS affiliate programs, SEO affiliate programs,
Mm.
and what I typically see is a lot of straight up listings, like here's 10, here's 12, and they don't really spend much time talking about, in my opinion, topical authority. And when I write these pages of content, I try to go deep and go, what are the SEO conferences these affiliates would attend? What are some basics that if you're new to the space, here's getting started. If you're an existing affiliate and you just want the list, then go here to get that part of the list. So when I go that deep, do you think I'm doing the right thing? Or should I just say that belongs on another page and I should stick to what the keywords are focused on?
That's a really nuanced one. I will have to speak broadly so I don't just, go on and on. But sometimes, yes, that is correct. Other times, that is not. In general, that is a great strategy. If you know your audience and you know that, hey, no one's talking about this, then that's fine. I was just digging through some really old SEO notebook notes. And me and Steve used to share our notes before he got famous and then starts like really went hard and started sharing like he went systematic with this. But he had this one note and it was he shared it from somebody else. I think his name is Pablo and he's gone now. I can't find him on the internet, but he has the idea where if it's on people, if it's a PAA, people also search for, then that validates the targeting. If it has pages that show up for it, so you can just look at the total amount of results. This was a while ago. I don't know if this will stay true forever, but that's another one. And then the other thing to think about is if you just know that this is good, that your audience wants it, then targeting it, I think you can think of it as like think of every query as an opportunity to be an authority for that query. So if you're there first, just like with a cluster, there's like cluster authorities where, hey, we've been here historically. There's this like metric now where we're just seen as like a seed site. And I think you've probably seen this where there's literally a different algorithm or different weights applied to anyone who's in the top 1 to 3 or 1 to 2 spots. Where once you're there, and especially for a lot of keywords, I have no idea how to exactly measure this. There's just like a different measurement system. And the idea here is just that if you go for these low hanging or these keywords where no volume is being shown, what's important for your audience, and you're connecting it in the optimal way, whether it's a new page or somewhere on your page, then that's a good thing. And you're connecting it to existing queries that Google understands.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do, and I actually did that on one of my pages. It was specifically a casino affiliate programs page,
Yeah.
and after making those changes, I think I did 4,000 words. It actually went up quite a bit.
I
I
did.
had no images on it. It was an ugly looking page, but I basically went that route and I said, I have multiple sites that I can actually do this and experiment for.
Yeah.
And what I've also discovered in the past, and I don't know if it's relevant today, is sometimes that listicle type of blog post was actually ranking. And I'm
Mm.
wondering if listicles are maybe not out of style anymore, but I just wonder if I think listicles will always be interesting, but I'm just wondering if they're going to be pushed down.
Man, I wonder the same thing, honestly. Because oftentimes listicles can be better satisfied by YouTube or visual stories. Or
Yeah.
so all three of those are like taking up the SERP environment now. And I don't know if listicles will be here for too much longer.
But I actually agree that they belong on a place like video for YouTube
Hmm.
because that same content I'm actually doing, it's going to be, yeah, that's a listicle style version of it, where it's going to have the year in it, of course, but it's going to be one video per year. And every time I look at what Matt Diggity does, he does like his content, but
Yeah.
then he's always got the video version following it up. And I
Yeah.
find he does pretty well hitting it on both sides.
Yeah. I actually want to ask you a question because I have this theory that Uh, basically, the way of the future is SEOs are going to get more, are they will need to become more dynamic content creators. We were used to just being able to stick in the realm of written content. And I really think that images and video, specifically video, will be much more important. And because there's that for so many reasons, but I'm just curious if you're thinking the same thing or where do you see video and images
Yeah,
into
it,
that?
it's a tough question because in the corner here is that not just the AI content, but the programmatic SEO. And I think there's always going to be a time and place for it. But I forget which SEO I saw this on Twitter or X, where they basically said people might become fed up with AI content where like even AI videos. Like I just saw one the other day. I'm like, I hate this. I gave it a downvote instantly and said, I don't
Yeah.
want to watch this. I know exactly what this is. And my belief is people buy from people. So in my experience, I've been affiliate marketer for 15 years with B2C stuff. Now I'm on the B2B side. And what I found is as soon as I started going into video, actually, Matt Diggity said the same thing. He's like, the video content he produces just sells more and better because it's people are
Yeah.
seeing you. That authority is coming through. So
Yeah.
imagine taking your content and putting clips of video to highlight what you're trying to explain, or maybe even, like you said, go a step further and go, okay, you know what? You didn't ask for it, but here's an extra 5 minutes of content where I'm going to dive deeper. And if you want it, it's there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm in complete agreement, and Matt Diggity's doing a great job with that.
Yeah. So
The
let's,
other thing too is that there's no backlinks required for video distribution. As long as you're creating digestible content, then you're good.
yeah. And the reason why I think video has a big power is that not everyone's willing to jump in front of a camera and just start recording. Look at what it takes just to get started. You're like, oh, my first video, I can't stand it. We can all look back at our first videos and probably even Matt Diggity, Kyle Roof, and just go, let's see how
Mhm.
bad their first videos are. And yeah, you keep them up. But I think
Well,
that's the barrier to entry into anything in this space. And I think as long as people will always be intimidated, they might start a podcast, but to do a video and then keep doing it, yeah, there's so much opportunity. But I know so many people that they're just scared to get started.
yeah, it's a beast. I would say that for those that are scared to get started, at least just to put you on the right track, the easiest tool I've found, because I did just like SEO, I did all this research to figure out video. And I have so much if I didn't have a SaaS, I'd be more into content creation, and eventually, hopefully, I'll do that more. But Descript, I think, is just like what Elementor and Divi and those things did for WordPress. It's like these visual editors now, and not only that, they've got AI tools integrated. Hey, I'm reading a script, my eyes are going off somewhere and it looks awkward. AI will adjust your eyes. Great. Okay, I misspoke here and I don't want to have to re-edit. Great. AI can dub your voice and no one can even tell. And you edit your clips by just looking at the text instead of looking at the necessary frames. There's all sorts of stuff now where SaaS help, Descript. And then there's free software like OBS too. There's all sorts of things where your microphone and lighting and all that stuff. I bet you for what, counting a camera and all the gear, you could probably get started for $1,000.
or
Uh,
less.
yeah,
I
or
think my
less.
setup is $300-$400.
Yeah, I was the camera's the majority of it. If you want 4K, then that's what's putting you over. You can do for 300 or something if you just do a 720p or 1080p, like Logitech sort of thing that's on top.
All right, so let's put our foot in our mouths. We talked about how people don't necessarily want AI content, but then maybe they do.
Yep, yep.
So, how do you see? We obviously know what's happening in social media where everyone's talking about AI content. People are getting hit, but then other people are saying, no, this is still growing.
Yeah.
And people are saying, Google's saying, you know what? It's if it adds value to the user, do it. Tell us how to do AI content the right way, because I think most people, when they get started, they do everything wrong and then they're like, this doesn't work. And then they're gone
So the question is how to do AI content.
the right way. Friend.
Asking for a friend. Do I have the ability to share my screen?
I think so. It's give it a try. And then I think I enable it on my side.
I'm digging into the projects. This is my specific project for my transparent SEO site called Flask and Barrel. So I could do any of these, but I'll just do how about how to drink bourbon articles,
What about how not to drink bourbon?
how not to drink bourbon. Is that a thing? So one of the things is this one's a little bit older, but I think it gets into the point is like I said earlier, you want to have your headings where you just go right into it.
Yeah.
This one, that's what is Irish whiskey, types, flavors, and recommendations. One is my title. So if you want to write AI content, here's a good title. And then the next thing that I really like is basically setting the tone at the top. So the first thing that Google sees is one, they see the URL. The next thing they're going to see is on this page is the title or the H1. So what you're seeing here is types, flavor, recommendations. Then the structure of this content better be types, flavor, and recommendations. Once again, we're all about optimizing, micro optimizing crawl. So if we are setting the structure here, and then if the H1 sets that same structure where it's mimicking, hey, here's what you're going to see, be as succinct as possible, great. I've even been testing, I have no data to prove it, but like I said, with the different data formats, I put audio now and I just transcribe it and then create an audio version because the audio is now so good that I see why not. It's an extra $2 or $3 at cost if I were to do like a 4,000 word post. So I don't see a reason why not to do that. I think another thing is UX. So as you can see, for people who can't see this, I've done exactly what Wikipedia does, where if you hover over this internal link, then you see the image of what it is, and then you can read a bit of the text without necessarily jumping into it. I think that UX UI is a huge piece. So if you invest in that, then your content's going to go much further as well. You want to make everything as readable as possible. So that's why there's bold sprinkled throughout, or italics sprinkled throughout, or underlines, all that kind of stuff. Think of it this way. I just think that it's a miracle people want to read it all. I used to be angry and be like, nah, I'm going to stick in my way of content must be this way. I'm going to keep my personality and brand voice and blah, blah, blah. If people have an attention span, just look at the cuts, video cuts and video editing on any show you watch, whether it's Netflix, whether it's reality television or cable news, whatever it is, 4 seconds, man. And if it's Mr. Beast, 2 seconds sometimes. And you're like, okay, this is what's getting the most. So, how can I emulate that philosophy inside of written content? There is a lot of UX stuff you can do, but it's answer the question as quickly as possible, provide different ways of answering it. As you can see here, I could have just done, hey, types of Irish whiskey, and then I could have just wrote it all out. But instead, my tool automatically, like all this is one click, by the way, to get all this stuff. I did one click, took me 3 minutes. I could have created 100 of these in one click as well. So we have all this here. It's much easier to read. And then I add images just because let's like stack that understanding. Because if someone wants an image instead, then they can have an image. And I'm trying to just provide them with exactly what they want. If they didn't want to read all this, then they can read. Then they can just look at this. Next, small sections, man. Just like very small. You don't want to go on and on. And if you look at, you don't have to take my word for it. Look at any of those sites that you hate that are on every SERP, Forbes and whatever. Look at how they structure stuff. Forbes is now just like they've got it down. It's quick answers. And what Google does is they'll rank just this. It creates a specific link, right? Like copy link to highlight when I right click this. Google's doing that when it in the SERP, and it'll have its own sort of. I wonder what that URL is. Yeah, it has this little URL that'll rank, and that's what it takes you exactly to this section. I'm sure you've seen it before, but you click it. So by having small sections, especially directly under the header, that's how you're going to get that. Next, we have I want to put entities in images. So I want an apple, I want honey, I want all these flavor profiles. This is a fun way of me describing. I could just say, hey, the flavor profile is this, or I could have this. So all of this kind of thing, this is what I'm trying to do. And I believe that for those that are worried, if I provide all this content where I give all the users the answers immediately, or I am doing this specific thing where I'm just not able to write in the way that I used to, I think that it's more about satisfying the query where if they don't go back to Google and you satisfied that, then that's you winning. If it's my recipes, I have a whole section on recipes. Sometimes it's just the recipe card. There's not even anything else on there right now. I'm ranking page 2 on with 0 backlinks on a fresh domain for a ton of recipes, and I've done nothing other than just it doesn't even have an image sometimes. I'm just like, it's just text.
It's gonna make me cry. I've got a recipe website I work on, and for years we never did that stupid, long, fluffy content. Oh, this rice reminded me about the time I went to Thailand. I'm like, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
Give me the recipe. Now it's that traffic's done like a 4 or 8x without
Yes.
any effort. Finally.
Heck yeah. And I think there's a time for that, but just put that content after you satisfy the user's query. If they want to read about your grandma and her apple cider vinegar story, then go for it. But people generally don't want to. So yeah, that's what all this is, man. I'm just getting unique stuff, making it visual, making it appealing, and putting bold. I have numbered lists, bullet lists, bold italics, tables, and lots and lots of images, good links everywhere, good UX, good UI. This is what I believe people want with content. So that's what I'm trying to do.
And going back to a comment I had earlier about people not doing the right internal linking, and it's because they don't know or they're lazy. And maybe I think it's a bit of both. What you've explained here might be super simple to you because you've been living and breathing this for so long. But I think for a lot of people, it's even the idea about even making things bold and having the right amount of content.
Yeah.
People scan before they read. So
Yep.
if you have a giant wall of text, unless it's Wikipedia,
Yep.
throw in an image in there. And even like tables and lists and things like that, they sound all gimmicky, but they work. You get it. You're
Oh,
exposed to it all day long on Wikipedia.
yeah. I think what helps me is I think like a copywriter. I manage a lot of ad campaigns, and what works if you every my you can't even see the bookshelf, but the amount of copywriting books that I have and its application for SEO. Copywriting is all about just getting people's attention. And if anything, if anyone didn't know, Google was sued, and then they had to release some documentation on their actual algorithm. So I went back. Some of it got redacted, but I went back to the web archives and tried to find whatever I could find before it was redacted, and then found hunted around on Twitter. So what I was able to find though is just that it's a ridiculous amount of effort, and all this like math is just put onto the backs of the users. So instead of trying to quantify everything, Google's just like, hey, let's just see what people do, create buckets of people based off of who we know them to be, and then we'll make our algorithm based off of that. And it's a good chunk of things. If that's what it is, and it's just measuring how people interact with your stuff, then just copywriting is the secret, or whatever the copywriting stuff it is, like all those SOPs around it. That kind of is what you should be doing with your content. Make it enjoyable.
And I'm going to ask you for your library list
Yeah,
of copy.
dude, for sure. So I was given this list from a guy that he made this company. He was like 21, And he turned a company from 3 million to 30 million to 100 million in under 4 years. We're talking like a huge
Bam.
company now. It's wild. And it was just off of the back of he obsessed over this and memorized almost entire books of how to do copy. So this stuff works, man. Like it just works.
So we only need 4 years and we'll both be hitting 100 million.
I can't do that, man. I don't know how to do that.
All right. I want to ask another question. It's very specific. I don't know if your app can do this, but I
Sure.
try to focus for my company to go, how can I capture unique data sets that I cannot copy anywhere else? So, for example, going very specifically for affiliate program reviews, going, what time zone is the data of that program? Are you giving it by real time, by the hour, every 24 hours? Do they
Yeah.
have S2S tracking? Do they have pixels and all the really geeky stuff that quite often you actually won't be able to scrape the website and find out? So we get this by talking to the program, going inside the backends. So if we have this data, how could we use ContentSprout to produce some AI content and try to save ourselves the hassle of going, we have a database of 2,000 affiliate programs as pure data points. We want to convert this into content, which we do.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see here.
We're going back into
Yeah,
ContentSprout.
let's do someone at my conference asked for was Holly. Yeah. Uh, she it's funny. So we have symptoms of hemorrhoids suck. I never struggled with it until as an SEO, and then I had one. It was awful. But point being, the you get your content here, right? And you don't have to keep all of this. Think of this as with content spread, you're not charged based off of the words. You'll get like 4,000 words sometimes, typically no more than 4,000. I think we average around 2,800. But you can remove a lot of these things and or just find opportunities to add your data. I would just find opportunities to add your data in, and then if possible, put a coding element into it. If you've ever been to nerdwallet.com or any of those other sort of websites, they have a lot of widget type things. I think just make a widget, a calculator, something like that would be really good. And then just put that in anywhere where it makes sense. That's my whole thought with this. Sometimes you could replace the content and just put a widget in there instead, but yeah, I just think put the data that you have in here. And that's actually have my whole, like, what was it, AI, SEO, SOP. I released it in my Facebook group for Content Sprout. And in that, it's basically sharing, hey, once you get this content, you're supposed to spend a little bit of time editing. So the editor should spend 20 minutes. And ideally, if you want to go the extra mile, if you're working with bigger companies or you just want to be the best, all you need is an hour. Get a subject matter expert in there, and their whole job is just you go to Scholar or JSTOR or whatever sort of place, maybe a government website of some kind, EDU website, grab the data. Maybe you already have the data, and then just add specifics. So you're supposed to seek opportunities for specifics. Luckily, I built a custom GPT where you can just click this and then it'll tell you opportunities for doing that. So you can click out of this and then it'll pop up later. But yeah, that's the what I would recommend doing. And then you can also say this, like, all right, let me paste the data I have in here. I'm just gonna say use the entire article as context. So now the AI is like reading your whole article. And you'll just say, hey, I have this data. What's the best section to put this in? You already have exactly what you need without leaving. I find that by just leaving one environment and switching to other environments, you just lose a lot of time just because there's always some sort of distraction. So the goal is to keep it just in here. It's not going to be nearly as good as ChatGPT itself, but yeah, so here we go. So we can see identifying symptoms. While it does a good job of listing the common symptoms, it could be enhanced by including information on how these differ from some similar conditions or how they might evolve over time, adding specific examples or anecdotes, like different things like that. And then if you have the data or you want to get your writer to do it, great. If you don't, then see this, if I back out of here, I could just hit rewrite article and then now it's going to implement all that for me. So I'll just wait 3 minutes and then I can have the article rewritten with all those improvements. But that's how I do the data is put.
Okay. And then I guess what I could do if I want to make life easier is I could build my own script to say, here's all my data points. Let's turn them into generic sentences, copy
Mhm.
that in, and then run that.
Oh yeah. So here's an example of how this would something I'm going to be adding into some of my articles. I have this little whiskey finder tool, so I paid a VA thousands of dollars to dig through the internet, and we have almost 8,000 whiskeys. And you can search based on flavor. So you're like, all right, well, I know I like this one thing that has vanilla flavor or whatever. You just put that in, you keep hitting next. And this is a nice little tool that can then surface all of this kind of stuff. And it doesn't even need, just because it doesn't necessarily register the text, which Google will read, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Once again, if you're satisfying the user and they don't leave your site and they stay there, or they just maybe they're only there 10 seconds, they found what they want and they're gone, that's fine. So that just optimized for the user. And you can do little tools like this. It doesn't have to look as pretty as this, but like, that's all you need.
Yeah. And it's the little details, like even when you were showing one of your other pages where it had the little clip of the sound bite where it was the audio version of it, you know that when people click on it and listen to it, that's more time spent on the page, which at the end of the day, the user is either going to appreciate or Google's going to have some understanding going, we just know that you spent more time here than on the other page.
Yeah. And I think some people are afraid of the time commitment and cost. But keep in mind that everything you make can have multiple uses. So, for instance, all those images I made, convert them into web stories, and that has its own organic distribution channel. That audio I made can use Canva, put a background, convert it into a podcast. Now you have that going on. There's multiple things you can do here. Don't think small. Think, how can I squeeze every last drop out of this? And that's how you use AI content, in my opinion. And it warrants the extra time investment when you have all those other opportunities.
So, how would you use programmatic SEO? Is there an application for Content Sprout, or is that kind of like combining what Content Sprout can do with the power of programmatic SEO?
Just depends. Like it, I think we can do 10, maybe 25 or something. I can't remember what the last number is. Asynchronous sort of creation. So it's as simple as just adding a little like bracket or whatever. And then you can write 100 articles at a time and push them all straight to WordPress. We don't only have the WordPress integration right now, but that's super nice. So that is technically programmatic. But when I'm thinking programmatic pre this AI, it's I'll use the example of landing pages, local pages, or we can use espionage. That's a good example since let's stick in more the realm of SaaS and stuff. Espionage did a clever thing, and I believe Ahrefs learned from them, where they decided to, and they're a competitor of SpySue, and they were the first SaaS I saw that published what their tool's already producing, right? Their tool produces these reports, their ad reports on a bunch of different competitors, anyone that's analyzed. And then they just created a public URL that has that analysis with little widgets. Boom. There's a programmatic SEO strat. So there's all sorts of things like that that you can do that obviously Content Sprout's not going to be a part of. But if you just want the actual like content itself without any proprietary data and stuff, then sure, Content Sprout. Then there's tools that are like local pages. You can just do variations with short codes that are like, hey, instead of saying Chicago, say Denver. And those still work. We do them. And heck, anyone search insert city SEO agency and you'll see it's alive and well. And that strategy works too. I'd be curious to know what you do for your programmatic stuff though.
Not a whole lot, but we actually had a meeting with, we've got a new head of product joining our team. And even though he doesn't have an SEO background, it's an interesting question. Because he's product, I actually believe product people benefit your SEO because he's, what do users want? What are they clicking on? And so as we start going down this rabbit hole of what's important for the user, it's all beneficial for SEO. So we're talking about all the data we're sitting on and going, in what capacity can we start programmatic SEO and how far do we take it where we don't take it so far that we end up with a penalty? Where, like, just to go into detail, and this is an interesting discussion because I had a chat with Eli Schwartz, and he basically said what you could do is, so we're taking casino affiliate programs, and then he's, how do you know if it's worth creating a page for targeting India? Is that a specific thing? And he's, you don't need fancy tools. Just go to Google, just type in the keyword, find if there's enough rankings of the page, that's a signal, and then go to the pages. And if they're real money sites that have put big effort into the content and the structure of it,
Yeah,
then you've basically got your answer as to, is this worth it?
it's
Yeah.
great.
So we're looking to do examples of that where we take it far, but we don't take it so far. And then we're in this analysis paralysis stage of going, We have all these data points, and what do we do? Do we use AI to publish them and then also produce the tables of data? Do we get paranoid that someone's going to scrape our sites? And what can we do to try to block that? And
I have a trick because a client of mine got legally hit on the wrist. He put a little fake listing that doesn't exist on the internet, and then you scrape for that. And the moment that triggers
yeah,
somewhere, I don't know the technicalities, but I'm
yeah,
on
it's like placing a mole. I don't know what the word is, but I actually thought about that as well. Where
yeah, it works, man. They
yeah,
got him and very fast.
yeah, it's the annoying part, knowing that it's probably going to be a thing. But other SEOs I've talked to, like James Dooley's, just go ahead and do it. Be the first one. If the data is going to find its way out there, that you can care about it. Just only care about it when they start outranking you, and if you do catch them scraping you,
That is
put
annoying.
your scrape traps in place.
Yeah, scrape traps. I heard someone say one of the interesting ways to get unique data. So you could steal. This is like more of a stealing thing, but you could take data that exists and just say it differently, and you get unique points, if you will. So you could say that half of Americans are obese, or you could say that's what's on the internet. Then you say, I know that there's 320 million Americans. So what I'll say instead is 165 million
Yeah.
Americans are obese. Now you have a unique statistic. So you can do that all day long too.
The irony, it's the same thing.
Oh
So,
yeah.
before I have the last question, like I said, I'm in your Facebook group. I've been on the outside kind of looking at the ContentSprout tool.
Yeah.
Just tell everyone, what can we expect? What's inside of it? Why should we give it a spin?
Oh, for sure. I have so many things that are on the way, but even right now, I'll just tell you right now, I'm trying to bring basically like a CMO level brain, or first, it's director level of SEO into here. So, how I analyze things, all my reports, how I do keyword research, slowly that'll get unpacked in here. I just have to have the money to do it. So, based on how much, like I take $0 and I don't plan on taking any money. And I really just have this obsession with, I want to get my brain out here. So, feel free to support the tool. No, it's all going to me just making a badass tool. I want to build whatever you want. But like right now, the thing that I think people would really, and I think I'm most proud of this one. We're gonna get the clustering automatically here too, and like in a couple days with search volume and CPC metrics and all sorts of stuff. But for now, with just one thing like hemorrhoids, for instance, or we could do painting contract or whatever. We click this, and then actually, I don't want to talk about hemorrhoids over and over. I want to
No,
do the
I could make this the insight clip.
yeah. Let's do this instead. We'll do aromatherapy, right? So aromatherapy health treatments. So we have essential oil with one click, right? I did this. All I did is I hit create topic, clicked whatever I wanted. Then in 3.5 minutes, all this gets created. So I'll show you what it looks like. We'll do essential oils. So here I have all my categories automatically created for me. I've got one view where I can see it just here. So I have lavender oil, peppermint oil, tea tree oil. I can do the keyword base. So if I want to just export this into Ahrefs, whatever keyword tool, I can immediately get all that. Once again, I have the clustering. So we scrape the SERP to find it'll be built in keyword clustering with search volume, and we'll do intent tagging and page type and marketing funnel. And we do all that automatically for you inside of here. So that'll be here so soon. We have the visual, so I can go in here and then just see the tree. And we'll also create titles. So based off of the top 10 of the SERP, we'll have an AI prompt that's taking all that information and saying, let's create a unique title based off of all this. So you'll have that. And then if you click in, it'll show you everything. It'll show you all the associated keywords, the cluster it belongs to, whatever. You'll be able to just send it all right to the writer straight from here. So I could typically, you could start an affiliate site just from this in an hour. You could have 300 blogs in a niche that you've never researched. And it's just incredible. I sell these for 100. If you've seen Matt Diggity's thing, he sells these for $400 to $1,000. And I've sold them for $2,500 to people before. So like it's here. It's just in the tool. Go sell it. Open a Fiverr gig. Do whatever you want. You can download the PNG. You can see this visual too. You get the flower thing. It's incredible. So I think that this is the thing that I'm most proud of. It's just going to get better and better. And then once again, you can just when adding a new project, You can upload your internal links targets. So anytime it finds the keyword, it puts it in automatically associated with the project. You can do, if you just want to create outlines, you can create hundreds of outlines. And the outlines are incredible too. So that is, here's best Queen tribute brands. But yeah, so it shows like this. You can drag and drop. You can scrape the thing too. If you want to paste your own in, then
Yep.
you write based off of whatever you believe to be the best. Select your language, select the region. You can make it write even like crazy better. You can customize the paragraph length. There's all sorts of stuff, man. So I think this tool is awesome. I made it for me and my friends. And then I spread it out. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to turn this into a SaaS. And I love it. I love being a SaaS owner. And this is just fun.
Yeah. I mostly agree, although there's some stressful times, but that's for another podcast. So I'm going to jump right into the last question. I think we got like 5 minutes to go. What do you see of the future of affiliate marketing as it intersects with business intelligence?
Let's define business intelligence for people. Are you talking like keyword volume and difficulty? Or are you talking about other types of metrics?
It could be anything. I think at the end of the day, just the more data you have at your disposal, we're going into data driven decisions in affiliate marketing. And
Yeah.
my personal opinion is it goes in any direction. In content, we could easily just, pun intended, sprout into so many different angles. It's never ending. Like you said at the very start, how detailed you can get into content and analyzing it and putting math behind it, whether you want to geek out that hard or just say, let's focus on basic metrics.
Oh, yeah. So, like, for me, for instance, with my whiskey site. So, here's how let's do zoom in on this. Let me share this because I actually do this to get VC funding or angel investing for my affiliate projects. So, here's one direction you could take this, right? You don't have to I just gave a speech in front of 100 agency owners and did this. So, as you can see here, you can estimate the traffic, the market share that exists. You can estimate the total pages, the total amount of referring domains. You can apply your link cost, content cost, referring domains per page. You can apply all of this stuff and get all this data. And then now you have something to actually work from. So, whether you're trying to figure out, should I go into this niche? Let's look at the cluster of whiskey alone, or let's look at the cluster of dog food. Let's see how many people rank for that. You can do that kind of stuff with this data. And then you can apply all these other ROI formulas of, if you know the conversion rates and if you know what the affiliate commissions are, the bot like payout and all that stuff, you can really start to understand of, okay, now it's just a matter of, if I know that the average is 200 pages and I know the average is 1,000 referring domains, and I know that generated them likely this amount of traffic and this market share, how much am I willing to spend each month? Now I know exactly how long it is and when. If you're better at UX UI and better at being more efficient, obviously, then you can get better. But this is one way I think is like super powerful. Otherwise, I think people are underusing Search Console. When you're already in a niche, that data is incredibly powerful. And I think what I plan on doing in my tool is matching Search Console more with a blended Ahrefs type environment where cannibalization, clustering, and all this other low hanging fruit opportunities do that more. There's so much data out there in Search Console and people are not using it. I don't see affiliates really talking about it that often, but it is
Yeah.
so strong. Just go into OpenAI, do your chat. You don't have to understand the regex, custom regex, but ask, hey, as an SEO, what are the custom regex things that would be applicable for someone interested in blah, blah, blah? Great, it'll give you some. So I wrote down a bunch last night just as an example, and I was like, yeah, this is perfect. So now I know how to find just like exact kinds of queries and yeah, just it's amazing. So that's how I see data. I use it all the time. Our agents, a Helium SEO, if you want an agency that's designed for this, that's our selling point. We build custom tools and we provide data that no one else has. And people like working with those sorts of people. It gives them confidence. So that's my answer.
Perfect. This was what I was hoping to hear and learn going deep on the data side. So, Andrew, obviously, we're going to put the links in the show notes for ContentSprout, but how
Sure.
can people get a hold of you and anything else you want to share?
Yeah, full name Andrew Sterling Ansley. If you Google it, all my socials pop up. I have a YouTube. I have a Facebook. Facebook's the best spot. ContentSprout has a private Facebook group. You can just add that. ContentSprout.ai for the tool. We'll have a website refresh and some cool things coming out. The topic maps are awesome. And then if you want any sort of services, consulting, that kind of thing, helium-seo.com. And yeah, feel free to reach out with any questions. I'm always here to help. If you have ads questions too, I do a ton of that as well. And I'm all about AI and I want to help everyone succeed.
I think I'm going to be signing up to Content Sprout this week. Andrew, thank
Sweet.
you so much for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.